Stumps and Stories podcast with Nishad Pai Vaidya.
You know, when we look beyond the test playing nations, there are so many stories of hope, stories of people just loving the sport and representing their country with great pride. And today I've got the privilege of having a family before me. So they've really contributed to the cricketing fortunes of their nation. First, it's Tim de Leede. Back in 1996, he was a part of the first Dutch team that came over to India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka to play the World Cup. And it was truly an experience that really held Netherlands in good stead. And of course, later on, we've seen him play at the 2003 and the 2007 World Cup. Now, Dutch cricket as such continued growing. They've continued producing players. And on the side, I think there was a young boy who watched his father play and maybe just got on those memories. And today, he played a major role in helping Netherlands move into the 2023 ODI World Cup ahead of the likes of West Indies. So, it's my great privilege to welcome Tim de Leede and Bas de Leede on Stumps and Stories. Gentlemen, I'm really excited and looking forward to this. How are you?
I'm fine. If I speak for myself, I'm. It's very exciting times for me, obviously, because my first World Cup was in India, and now Bas is going there, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I'm good as well. I'm obviously really excited to go and play my first 50-over World Cup, and to do that in a country like India is pretty amazing.
Tim, I'll just come to you first. We know the Netherlands as a football mad nation, and of course, making the World Cup semi-finals, finals, etc. And of course, even hockey is quite strong there. Cricket doesn't quite figure in one of the leading sports. So how did you pick up the sport? Was it somewhere that you saw on television, or maybe you went over to England? What brought you to play cricket?
Now I got dragged into cricket by my two older brothers. They started playing because my mom and dad are from a cricket club, so there's the connection. But my dad moved to Voorburg, and apparently there was a cricket club as well. Some of my older brothers started playing, and as cricket is a small sport, they were always one short for their under-12 team. And when I was 6, I played my first games with them.
Was it any different for you? Because obviously you were born in 1999. By then, your father had already played a World Cup. Then as you were growing, he played 2 more World Cups. How much did that influence you and bring you to cricket?
Yeah, obviously massive. I mean, not just him playing the World Cups, but I guess when he had time off, we were in the garden playing cricket, and he was throwing balls at me. So I guess I got dragged into it from a younger age than him. But yeah, not by older brothers, but by my dad.
Tim, in the 90s, we had seen quite a few Dutch players also make it to county cricket. There was someone like a PJ Bakker who was already playing county cricket. But then what was cricket like in the Netherlands, especially in 1994, the ICC trophy, UAE, Kenya, and Netherlands made it to the World Cup? How big was that moment, and what was the lead up like? How did you prepare for the tournament, and how difficult was it just making it through to a higher level?
In 96 and 1990, 1990 I played myself, and we had a home tournament, ICC qualification tournament, and we played on coconut matting and high grass, football field. So cricket was strange. And then we went to, the first time it was outside the UK in 94, we went to Kenya, and we went there 2 weeks before the tournament. So we were away for 6 weeks. And to get used to the height, because Nairobi was at 15 or 1800 meters high. So the ball comes down quicker through the air. We had to get used to the bumpy outfields, and we had to get used to the wickets. So for us, it was very strange, but it was a fantastic tournament.
And just, qualifying for the World Cup, how big was that? Because now you were going to play the likes of Pakistan, New Zealand, England, and South Africa.
Well, we had a few older guys in the team, and they were desperate to have to play their game at the highest level, and they dragged us along. And we had a decent team. UAE, we beat them in the 2003. We had a tournament, a pre-ICC tournament. We beat them easily, and the year after they had changed to half their side, and they beat us easily. So we lost the semi-final. and then had to beat Bermuda. And well, luckily we batted first and got over 300, so that was done and dusted then. So we were very, very happy and excited because, well, it was in India, and that's where cricket was the biggest.
And the India that you came to in 1996 is very different from the India that Bas will be coming to. So any tips for him? Because obviously now, of course, I must tell you, the food is very different now. The hotels are different. The grounds are a lot better. So something as a father you would tell Bas, and Bas, what are your expectations of making this trip to India?
Well, I obviously watch IPL every now and the Indian Test matches, so I know a lot has changed. The grounds are just fantastic, but I back in the day I already liked the grounds because the wickets were flat, so I could hit through the line. I like that. So, and I think for Bas the main thing to enjoy is the knowledge of the people and the amount of people that like cricket, because over here I have to explain the rules over and over again. And over there, you don't really have to do that. In the contrary, they'll recognize you. They know who you are, and that is fun for a little while.
Yeah, I think my expectations. I've spoken to a lot of people about India. Some of the Dutch guys actually went to India on a spin camp, so they took some young spinners and some young batsmen to go and prepare a while ago, and I spoke to them, and they all loved it. So I'm expecting a lot from India in terms of culture and getting to know, getting to eat the local food and stuff like that. And then grounds, obviously, it's you're hoping to play in front of some big crowds. And the Indian fans being as loud as they are, it'd be amazing to do that. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most. It's just experiencing a proper game of cricket in India.
And as Tim said, that you are explaining rules to some of your people back there. But I must tell you, Bas, that during the World Cup qualifiers, I did come across people who were discussing your innings and whether Netherlands has a chance to go past Scotland, a day before that game. So you will find a lot of people, as you would expect, talking about the game here and already knowing what you have done. Now, in 96, of course, Netherlands, you came here to India to play the World Cup. It was jointly hosted with Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Netherlands had quite an interesting squad as well. You had Peter Cantrell, who had played, the Sheffield Shield. You had someone like Nolan Clark, who was playing a tournament at the age of 47, still remains the oldest cricketer ever to have played an ODI. At the same time, you had someone like a Bas Zuiderent, who was just 18 years old. And this squad was just diverse. You had Flavian Oponso as well, I think, who was Sri Lankan origin. So what was that makeup like? Because it seemed like, people had just been brought together, played cricket all over the world, and now were playing for the Netherlands. And how was that squad build up like?
Well, a thing we strongly believed and still believe in is that it's not only your Dutch passport because of some of the ancestors, or that you live in the Netherlands for over 4 years, but you should also, it's also giving back to Dutch cricket. So we tend not to fly in guys who just want to play a World Cup and then we never see them again. It has happened, but it was never a success. The current squad are all, well, I think it's made up of 11 guys who play in the Dutch leagues, and just 4 from abroad. And those are Dutch guys anyway. So, and that is, I mean, I think that helps the team culture.
Yeah, of course it does. And, Bas, coming to you, the team culture was very much evident during last year's T20 World Cup, and which was, of course, a success wherein you beat South Africa. But later on in the qualifiers as well, in Bulawayo and Harare, it was quite a good run. And how was the team shaping up throughout, especially qualifiers, because quite a few of the players weren't available, yet the team found success, beating West Indies, chasing over 370, almost getting there. It was a tight game, of course, but then it was a brilliant finish. And then, of course, getting the better of Scotland.
I think a lot of that has to go down to Ryan Cook as well, the head coach. I feel like he's got a vision where he wants this team to go, and he wants to have a strong core of players that he can select for most of the time, and not just have to bring in players from, just based on their availability. But he really wants to have a strong core of 9 or 10 players who then players can come in when they're available. But yeah, a team that knows how to play with each other. Think about the game in a way that is best for the team. And I think what he's done well is he's been able to get everyone's positives and like strengths and weaknesses, and use that to form a team that almost complements each other. And so I think that's been one of the big parts that you can actually see going from the Super League to the T20 World Cup, and now to the qualifiers, and hopefully into the 50 over World Cup, is a team that complements each other and knows how to play with each other.
And Tim, 2003 Netherlands came back into the World Cup. 99 you missed out, but the first match was against India, of course. Billion people watching, and there's Sachin Tendulkar, Saurav Ganguly, Rahul Dravid, you name them and they are there. And you managed to get 4 wickets, out of which one of the wickets was Sachin Tendulkar, and you restricted India to only 200. What are your memories of that game? Because restricting a strong batting lineup like that to only 200 and getting some big names out.
I have 2 memories. One was that in '96 we saw, as soon as we played friendlies against the big nations, we were hammered. But as soon as it was an official game, we saw them play more cautiously. So I'm not saying we felt we had a chance, but if we played decent cricket, we would have a decent result. That is how we went into the game. We trained as hard as we ever had, and then in 2 practice games before that World Cup, we were hammered by provincial teams. So there was not a lot of confidence in the team, but for some reason the start was okay, and we nicked Ganguly off, and then we got, I think, Tendulkar out. There's no Sehwag out, and Tendulkar out, and Dravid out. So all of a sudden there was a belief, and you saw the Indians. They were also human. So it's still one of the biggest regrets that we didn't make the 202, but it's still got great memories of that game personally, obviously, because restricting India for such a total is a great effort.
Yeah, because I think only Dan Van Bunker got something like 50, and he was the only one who really batted until I think 120 or 140 that the Netherlands got. But again, that was a World Cup where you finally recorded a victory against Namibia, and then there was a qualification for the 2007 World Cup that happened later. And again, in a warm-up game that happened, you managed to get Tendulkar out there as well. So that's 2-2 for you.
Yeah, and I think we even played India in 1 or 2 games in the Netherlands friendlies on our Astro and artificial matting, and I'd like to believe I got him out that game as well, but I can't recall that anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, what
no,
were you saying?
It's nice because a few years ago back, Bas played with his son at MCC Young Professional. So then there is the De Leede Tendulkar connection again, which is nice.
Oh yeah. And of course, then how did you pass it on to Bas? Because obviously you were also a seam bowling all-rounder. Bas also grew to become a seam bowling all-rounder. Was it where he just looked at you and maybe picked it up, or what was that like?
Nah, it was natural. I used to play football and cricket, and I really enjoyed it. And I just took him to cricket, and we put him on football, and he enjoyed that for a time. And I don't think we ever put any pressure. It was his choice, whatever he wanted to do. And at the age of 13 or 14, I think he more or less went for cricket. And we started training a bit more in the winter. And then at 17, when he had finished school, all of a sudden he could join the Dutch team for a tour because one guy got injured at the last moment. So, and then, we hardly saw him again.
And Bas, what was that like? Like, of course, your dad played a lot of his cricket when you were very young. So did you watch a lot of his stuff on YouTube or somewhere? And how did you pick that up and, take that forward? And how much of an inspiration was that? The Dutch team, whatever they achieved in 96, 2003, 2007, taking that consistency forward, because they also made it to the 2011 World Cup.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think I can remember much from any of my dad's career. I remember going to his club games with a bat and a ball and just trying to find anyone who would throw balls to me when I was younger. And then I remember the 2007 World Cup in the West Indies. I remember some bits of that. But obviously, for me, growing up, seeing my dad play cricket, it was something that I wanted to do as well. I think when I got a bit older and when I got to realize that it was an opportunity for me, I obviously knew from my dad's experience that it was worth it to try and pursue that. So I think in a way it helped me try and chase those goals. And with my dad, he obviously knew a lot about the game. So when we started training in the winter, he was obviously someone that I was asking questions. He was coaching me, and it sort of went naturally from there. Like he said, he never pushed me to play cricket. If I wanted to be a below average footballer, I think he would have allowed me to do that as well.
And Tim, how different was domestic cricket in Netherlands when compared to what Bas is seeing today? How different was your time to the current time?
Well, when I stopped playing in 2007. I never had a coach in the winter, so we trained in the winter. But I played football to stay fit, and then if we were lucky, we had one session a week. But that was with the full squad, so you batted for 20 minutes a week, if we were lucky. When I stopped in 2007, the first thing they did is appoint a coach for the whole year. So that was a big difference. And then year by year, they got more opportunities, and there was the money got a bit better for it, so they could tour. I'm not saying the money for the players, because that is still very. Most of them are still amateurs. So, but the opportunities to train now are fantastic. So it's a big difference.
And Bas, moving from the Dutch league to going on to play for Durham in county cricket, how difficult was that as a player to adjust to those conditions and to play first-class cricket regularly? How did you make that switch?
I think the biggest thing was in red ball competition, it was finding out how to use my skills in the red ball stuff. And I felt at the start I was struggling with trying to hit the ball too hard, or being too eager to score, and bowling, trying too many things, or trying to take wickets by doing something special instead of being consistent for a long time. But other than that, I think I got a lot of experience from the Super League games that we played with the Dutch in the last 3 years, where I think, I got a lot of confidence from those games and seeing how the best do it, that I think in the end, the transition into first-class cricket and cricket in England was doable. And I've really enjoyed it so far. So it's been a big step, but I think it was a little bit easier than I imagined it to be at the start.
And talking about the World Cup T20 that happened last year, of course, Netherlands progressing through to the next round and beating South Africa. How big was that, and how did the dressing room celebrate the whole thing? Because everyone thought that day, yes, South Africa are going to go, they're going to get the win, they're going to move to the next round. But instead, you did Pakistan quite a favor by beating the South Africans and making the task very much easier for them.
Obviously, a massive moment. I think also with the Dutch and South African connection that some of the players have, it was special for them. For us as a group, securing the qualification for the next World Cup was a massive thing. But ultimately, I think there was also a little bit of disappointment, because we felt that when we looked back at the World Cup, at the tournament, the game against Bangladesh, we were far from far from our best. If we'd have won that game, what would have happened? We might have been in a even better position for ourselves. So, but overall, it was obviously pure enjoyment. We had a big celebration in the change room after. We had a nice goodbye for Stefan Marburg, who retired after that game. But yeah, to be, to do something like that was amazing for us. I think, in the Super League, we came close to winning, even if it was 1 or 2 games against big teams. But now to actually learn from that and do it on the big stage was amazing.
And especially talking about the World Cup qualifiers, the win against Scotland, where you batted brilliantly and got that 100, of course, you didn't have the luxury of batting the 50 overs because you had to get the target in a certain time. How difficult was that, especially when you lost around 4 wickets and you had to have a move on, but at the same time, there were wickets that had fallen at the other end?
Yeah, in the end, I tried to make it as simple as we could. When we lost those wickets and Sakib came in, we said to each other, listen, we need to try and get this thing going as soon as we can. So go for sixes for maybe 3 or 4 overs, and then we started looking for boundaries. And it was we were trying to look at what can we do in the next over or the next 2 overs instead of shit. We need to be there at 44 overs. So we tried to make it as small as we can, try and knock off those small targets, and I think that really helped with not losing the plot. So staying calm in the moment, which was really cool to see. And looking back, Saki wanted to run a ball, which amazing at that time, because if we'd lost another wicket, it would have been even tougher.
And Tim, do you talk to Bas maybe before every international game, or do you pass on your advice from time to time?
No, I don't talk to him before every game. I sometimes, I think 2 winters ago, they played New Zealand in New Zealand, and he looked not very confident playing Ishodi. And then we had a little bit of contact, and I said, "Are you reading him?" I said, "No, I'm not reading him." I said, I think you should go for sweeping then. Try to get on that front foot and sweep everything, because then it doesn't matter. And I never asked him, but I felt that he did that the next game and did all right. So, but that is all. He's a much better player than I've ever been. So if I see something, I will not hesitate to suggest it to him. But he's doing all right so far. So no need to do anything.
And do you remember where you were? Obviously, you would when he scored that 100 against Scotland. Where were you watching it from? And how did that feel, especially that Netherlands were making it back to the World Cup after 12 years?
Well, I do a bit of coaching here for the Dutch board, and our under 14 and under 16 team had matches in Utrecht. We played an Australian team, and well, obviously the Dutch started well, but then Scotland got over 300, and that was a lot. And then we lost a few quick wickets, and I thought, well, is it worth watching? But Bas was still there, so I kept on watching on my phone, and well, as the day progressed, I had to charge it in the clubhouse. I said, "Sorry guys, I have to charge my phone, and I'm not coming back because I want to watch this. I feel something special is going to happen." So in the end, I think all the Aussies were watching on their phones as well. They were betting, and well, there was a small celebration, and everybody was really happy. So it was a very nice to be in that position, watching at the cricket field with the young, hopefully some young future Dutch players, watching a guy who I know very well get runs. So.
And looking back, there have been quite a few moments which have really stood out for the Netherlands, like of course the victory against Namibia in the 2003 World Cup, the first time ever that Netherlands managed to win a game at the World Cup. Then of course the 2 victories against England in the T20 World Cups, and now we've got this victory against South Africa last year in the T20 World Cup, and the remarkable performance at the World Cup qualifiers. This is a question to both of you. Like, if you have to pick, say, one or two moments that for Dutch cricket, according to you, are like right up there, which one would they be? Who'd want to go first? Like,
I think let's start from the past. I think qualifying for that first World Cup, there was a belief that we could do that more often. But things had to change. We had to start training more. We had to even get more opportunities to train. It was as simple as that. And that took about 15 or 20 years before that finally happened. So, and then the 2009 World Cup, I think the opening match of the T20 World Cup, and the Netherlands won that game. It was, again, it showed we could do it. Well, T20 didn't exist when I played, so it showed we can do things. It doesn't matter how small we are, but we can do things. And a similar thing is happening now with the team. And this team is by far the best team Netherlands have ever had. So I'd like to hope that we will try and find a way to continue producing good players and continue at this level for a few more years.
and Bas, do you have some of those memories? Maybe those T20 World Cup wins against England, and looking back at whatever success Netherlands have had in the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, I think obviously that England game at 2009 at Lords was brilliant, and every time I see the highlights pop up, I have to watch them. I also think one of the games that I really enjoyed watching was the one, I think it was the T20 World Cup in Bangladesh and India, where they had to beat Ireland in 14 overs and they had to chase down 190 something.
Stefan Myburgh got a lot of runs in that.
Yeah. Stuff like that. That's probably more what I've watched, and which has stayed with me, which has been pretty amazing.
And of course, now coming to the World Cup, the big thing when compared to your dad's time when they played the World Cup, they had maybe 5 games at the 96 World Cup, and then the 2003 World Cup, you had, I think, six games, I think. So now talking about this World Cup, you've got 9 matches. How big is that? 9 against the top teams.
Yeah, amazing. I think everyone I've spoken to so far has asked about it, and to play 9 games under a lot of pressure against the best in the world is going to be amazing. Before the Super League, I don't think we'd even played 9 games in total against the best teams in the world. So to do that now all in one tournament is pretty special. And I think from the Dutch side is we're going to try and play our best cricket, and if that is good enough on the day, then we win a couple of games hopefully. And if we play our best cricket but India also plays their best cricket, or England also plays their best cricket, and we lose the game, then so be it. So I think for us it's a massive opportunity to go out to try and perform and see where we end up, which is pretty cool.
And Tim, how do you look at this opportunity that Netherlands has of playing 9 matches against the top sides at the World Cup? That's a lot compared to what even you got back in the day. So how much will that help today's cricketers grow and move forward?
Well, it will help them massively, but what will help them even more is that it won't stop for another 4 years. Like in our day, we played 96, we played 5 games, I think, maybe 6. And then we didn't have a game for 7 years.
Yes.
So all the experience we got in that tournament, well, you won't remember it for 7 years. And then we played in South Africa another 5 or 6 games, and we didn't play another game for years. And then we had West Indies, only 3 games there. So the tournament is obviously a fantastic opportunity for these guys, but what is almost more important is that there will be a continuation of these games in 2024, 2025, and it's not just a one-off.
Absolutely. And, just to round off and to end this right now, if you can, both of you could just say, what are you looking most forward to at this World Cup? which is obviously going to be held in India in front of big crowds and, a massive opportunity. What is it that you both are looking forward to?
Me personally, I'm looking forward to Dutch players doing really well. If they play on their level, that is fine. But I've seen guys play above their level, and that is something a lot can do. So we have guys like Vikram Singh and Max O'Dowd, Bas, obviously, Scott Edwards, who is an amazing player, who knows his own game so well. He's a nudger and sweeper of a ball. Like he can do really well. And then Teja Nedamanuru, he got 2 centuries against the bigger countries. There's a lot of, and then obviously the bowlers, Sharice Ahmed and Paul van Meekeren, they've got something extra. They've got something special. So I'm really looking forward to them doing really well in one of the games and well in the rest of the games.
And Bas, what are you most looking forward to?
To be honest, probably the same. A big thing in our team is celebrating each other's success, and I look forward to the guys hopefully doing well in one game or more games, and to celebrate that success, whether it's in a winning or a losing cause. I think performing at a World Cup is one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing in your career. So I look forward to seeing some Dutch boys do well, maybe pick up a few Man of the Match awards. That.
Perfect. Now, on behalf of all of us here at Stumps and Stories, I would like to wish the Netherlands team and you, Bas, in particular, the very best. We look forward to welcoming you here in India. I'm sure the hospitality is going to be really good. The food's going to be amazing. But above all, we are hoping to see some really good cricket, particularly from the Dutch boys, because we are seeing them at the World Cup after 12 years. The last time they qualified for the World Cup, they played their matches here in India and Bangladesh. So we really are hoping that Dutch cricket gets a lot out of this World Cup. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. It was really great going down memory lane and coming back to the present and talking everything that is Dutch cricket.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.